He's got one foot in the frying pan and one in the pressure cooker. Believe me, as a bowler, I know that right about now, your bladder feels like an overstuffed vacuum cleaner bag, and your butt is kind of like an about to explode bratwurst.
Hey, do you mind? I wasn't talking when you were bowling.
Was I talking out loud?
Welcome to Munson's at the Movies. My name is Kyle. I will once again be your host, joined by the rest of the Munsons. Want to give them a wide berth.
He's what is called a born loser. A real Munson.
And talk a little bit about what's going on in their worlds. We are in luck today for episode 64 because we've got a few folks with us who haven't been here in a while. Starting with Warren making his return.
This is episode 64. I read it wrong. I thought it was 69. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I'm really glad to be back. Have not watched many movies over the past year, but was very excited to watch some super shitty ones with Angelina Jolie. So let's get rolling.
Case.
I'm not known to be much of a jersey guy when it comes to professional athletes, but I've decided that I'm now a Ryan Fitzpatrick fan.
Ooh,
I'm upset.
He earned over $82 million in his career. I'm going to wear a different Ryan Fitzpatrick jersey every weekend of the season. Every Sunday I'm wearing a new jersey this year.
You know, he's a smart player. He went to Harvard. I was like, he went to Harvard. He is not a smart player. Those are two completely different things. They should not equate. I was like, he's a risk-taking, weak-armed gambler who's probably great at like doing math, but he's not good at football. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Well,
he's Brett Favre with a high IQ and a smaller dick.
I don't know if that's possible. I've seen Favre's. I don't know if that's doable.
I'm going to feel awfully out of place at my Vikings bar when I'm wearing a Fitzpatrick jersey of neither team that's playing.
It's okay. You'll be losing a bunch, so you might as well just wear the shame on your back.
That's right.
James.
Yeah, so, what am I now, 4 weeks into fatherhood? Maggie Smith Jr. is doing well. The cool thing about being a dad, I've realized, is that the bare minimum is expected of you, and you just get all the praise. Like I watched my wife go through the most physically impressive feat I've ever seen in my life, and people will see me like change a diaper in public and like, oh my God, what a good dad. I'm like, damn, the bar is so fucking low for me, man. Like the fact that I try it all, everyone's like, oh, good job. I was like, I could be fucking this up, and everyone's just so happy for me.
Gonna have a statue before you know it, dude.
For real.
Rigby isn't here yet. He will be eventually. This is not the first time, nor will it be the last time that Rigby has dragged his ass in late to an episode. But some of us have a brand. He's got one, but we'll welcome him with open arms when he gets here with some silent treatment, per usual. Speaking of taking some weight off our shoulders, Lauren Hopkins is back with us here on the pod.
Woo!
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Lauren.
For those who don't know Lauren and haven't heard her previous episode, she's a higher ed professional, and she lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She loves to travel and has been to 10 countries and 40 states, and she's planning a trip to the Maldives next fall.
Maldives are going to be sick.
When she's not doing all of these things, Lauren works as a background actor and has worked on over a dozen films and TV shows. She was previously with us for the Maya Rudolph and Elliot Page episodes. Welcome back, Lauren. Tell us about the Maldives and if you've been doing any background acting lately.
Yeah, so I had friends that got married in Mexico in April, I guess. And so we went to Mexico for a week, and that was, obviously an extreme hardship. And those friends are very well traveled and started talking about taking this trip to the Maldives next fall. And they were like, would you guys be interested? And we were kind of like, yeah, actually we would be interested. And then of course we got home, and a week later, my boyfriend's cousin, who he's very close with, announced that he's getting married in Hawaii in March. And so we were like, yay, Hawaii. But also like we literally just kind of semi-committed to a very expensive trip to the Maldives. Yeah. And we're not like rich. So we'll see how that all plays out.
You can't afford multiple trips around the planet? Come on. NASA can do it. Why can't you?
As for movie, TV work, I worked on a show a couple months ago. I think it's a movie that Netflix is doing called Rustin that filmed in Pittsburgh. Could not tell you who was in it because I don't think that we actually saw any actors of note. Yeah, I think that's the only thing I've worked on since I saw you all last.
I'm more interested in the background actors of that movie than the stars.
Nice.
Touche.
That's a man who knows how to treat a guest. That's what that
Yeah,
is.
that was
Yeah.
very nice.
So June 16th. First off, we have Daniel Bruhl, Inglourious Bastards, Rush, Captain America: Civil War, and Brother Bear 2, the German version.
Also Salt.
Yeah, so I'll start us off. I think Daniel Bruhl is the ripe age of 42.
Damn, I was going to guess around there. 40.
48.
I'm going to say 43.
All right. Price is Right rules. Lauren, you win. He was 44. Lauren's
Nice.
44.
Oh.
Oh, good job, Lauren. That's one for her. John Cho, Harold and Kumar saga, the Star Trek saga, the American Pie saga, and Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas, which is wild. I had no idea that there were Asian people in the time of the Flintstones.
Big bow.
Are you saying that from a historical narrative
Yeah,
or
I bet
entertainment?
you
No, I'm
were.
saying it from a Hanna-Barbera. They never did that. I don't even think they had black people in the Flintstones.
Yeah, you're right. The Flintstones was the prehistoric era, but like definitely in Chicago during the prehistoric era.
How old's John Cho?
I think of him as Harold, and he was like a high schooler in that. he's been college aged for 20 years.
Yeah, I think he's older than he looks.
Give me 45.
I'll go 50. I'm going high.
Oh my god, 38.
I'm going to say 48.
Kyle on the dot, 50.
He's 50. I wouldn't, dude. He looks great.
When you think about it, didn't his character originate the term MILF in American Pie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about a
Arguably,
pop culture staple.
Whoa.
John Cho.
That man changed my life.
He changed so much about the world around us.
Or at least fetishized it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stifler's mom changed your life.
That's true.
All right. And last but not least, we have the man. He is still alive, Tupac. How old is Tupac?
Is Tupac younger than John Cho? That's a question I often ask myself.
Mm.
I'm going to go 58.
Before he faked his death to get away from Jada,
Oh,
54.
52?
I'm going to say he's 54, but because he's been decaying in his little bunker, and so he looks 70.
Oh, yeah. Terrible nutritionist.
So, believe it or not, everyone was over, but Lauren was closest. He had 51.
Oh,
Wow.
He is a year older than John Cho.
He was killed at the age of 25, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. That was all the birthdays. No one else had birthdays. Happy birthday to those people.
All right, 5 actors onto the wheel for episode 64. They were Ben Whishaw, Steve Martin, Mads Mikkelsen, Sanaa Lathan. It doesn't matter because the wheel chose Angelina Jolie, and Lauren decided to come join us to talk about Angelina Jolie. And Warren to a certain extent too.
We're glad she did.
Right? Yes. So for somebody with such powerful name recognition, she hasn't had as many credits as maybe people think she would. She's only got 63 credits. Most of it's film. There's some music videos popped in there as well, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get into the details, James shall try to stump us with all the trivia. And last time he said he was going to have like 9 facts. So we'll see where he landed.
Yeah, so I had to decide, like, did I want to make this trivia a hit piece on the girl we're covering? And I decided no, because there's a lot of drama in this woman's life, and that is unfair to the whole story. So I decided not to just include the dramatic elements, but also some positive ones in here as well. So for those of you who are new to the podcast, I'm going to read off 3 facts, 2 of which are going to be true about the woman of the hour, Angelina Jolie. And one of them is not going to be true, but will in fact be true about one of the many cast members of the Fast and the Furious franchise. Guys, got to guess which one is which. Fact number 1. Listed as the founder and or board member of 7 charities, including one in her own name. Fact number 2. Became the 3rd actress to join the $20 million club in history for earning $20 million per film. Fact number 3. Once hired a hitman to kill herself.
Wow. Well, I have no idea which one this would be, so I'm going to practice my test-taking skills like James always talks about. And since the only person in the Fast and Furious universe that has as much crazy things in her life is Charlize Theron, I'm going to say that number 3 is about Charlize Theron.
A great guess, because Charlize has had quite a wild life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's the first one that's a lie. And I feel like it's probably a trick, and she probably has like more charities than that.
Probably.
And I'm sure there's like 1 in her name, but probably like 5 or something. I still have not seen any of the Fast and Furious movies, so I can't attribute it to someone.
They're about family.
I'm gonna say it's number 1 as well. Okay, and that's actually it's Paul Walker, and most of them are done posthumously.
I think number 1 is also a lie, and that's noted philanthropist Luke Evans from the Fast and Furious franchise.
Rigby would have said that it was number 2 and it was Vin Diesel.
So no one guessed fact number 2. Became the 3rd actress to join the coveted $20 million club. And that is true. Good not guessing. She joined that after Julia Roberts and Cameron Diaz, formerly covered on the pod, was in Mr. and Mrs. Smith in 2005, where she got paid $20 million for that movie.
Jeez.
Additionally, though, since then, boy, has she been crushing it. She has been the highest paid actress in 3 years since then, which was in 2009, 2011, and 2013, where she got paid just under and just over $30 million each year. So she's doing great financially, if you're wondering.
Wow.
Fact number 3, once hired a hitman to kill herself, is true. So when I said there was a lot of stories I could have chose from, but I didn't want to paint only negative pictures, this is one of them. So she was heavily into drugs when she was younger, and she was contemplating suicide. And then she had this kind of deep thought where she says, well, if I commit suicide, people in my family are going to feel like they're going to be down. They're going to feel like they could have reached out for help and there was something they could have done. And so to save them that burden, I'm going to pay a hitman to make it look like a robbery. That way, no one would feel like it was a burden. It was merely an accident. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. She actually hired the hitman, and then the hitman was the one who talked her out of it. He said, why don't you just take a couple months and call me back? You know, I've never really been asked to do this before. And if he hadn't done that, she might not be here today. But after those few months, she got a little better and changed her mind. And fact number 1, you guys nailed it. Warren specifically, that is a Paul Walker fact. Listed as the founder and board member of 7 charities, including one in their own name. 29 different charities. According to tax records, in 1 year, she donated $8 million alone, and that was in 2006. She's won like every humanitarian award you could possibly win, and was actually even honorary damehood, since she's not from England, by Queen Elizabeth. But like literally every humanitarian award there is, she won. So it would waste my time to list them. But 29 different charities.
Damn.
And according to tax records, $8 million in 1 year. That's not counting every other year. I typed in how much money total, and it's just not even listed because it's so much. So I was impressed with that as well.
All right, Case, tell us about her snapshot box office history. She's made a lot of money.
She has. Jolie is easily one of the biggest stars that we've covered, but she has a drastically different box office footprint than anybody else. Quickly, it became very clear that she would do well in film budget comparison. Jolie ranks 7th overall film budgets with a whopping $74.1 million per film average. That is just gigantic. And it's even more impressive when you consider she hasn't done a lot of franchise work. Also, she ranks 8th in overall box office earnings, which relates to what James was talking about. While you might think she's all set, you would be wrong. Star meter, she is 20th. She's 56th in critic ranking, 42nd in fan ranking. She's 58th and 62nd in box office metrics. One would probably look at that and go, well, her critic and fan ranking is what's going to sink her. You'd be partially right. What was interesting about Jolie is when I started plugging in the numbers, early on in her career, she was in movies that struggled in the box office. She had several massive bombaroos right out of the gate. If you only include films that had film budgets and box office reported, she was in 6 straight movies which lost the money coming out of the gate. So she wasn't in a movie that made money in the box office in her career until The Bone Collector. Further, she's in some of the largest bombs that we've looked at. If you look at movies and how much money they made against their budget, she's in the third lowest film we've looked at in Pushing 10. The film was budgeted for $33 million and only grossed 8.4. That movie lost $25 million, which is bananas.
She's got some sweet erotic titles like The Bone Collector and Pushing 10, TEN instead of TIN. Like, that's epic.
Gone in 60 Seconds, which rings true to your life, Warren.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, man. That's a good one.
Overall, she ranks 52nd our box office metric.
It's very surprising.
It's not worth $20 million a year.
Yeah, especially because, who she is and just, like, the name recognition. And, I'm really surprised by that.
It's odd because, like, you're looking at some of these movies and the critics just go out of their way to hate so many of them. And some of them I'm like, oh, that movie rocked. I don't know why it sucks, but I feel like it became like, it's weird. There's some movies that absolutely stink and some movies people say stink that don't. And I don't know, like I didn't expect to hear that she was that bad in the box office, to be quite honest.
I didn't expect to say it.
You can say the same for the other stuff because like two of the shittiest movies I've had to watch in the past year have high Rotten Tomatoes scores. And I thought they were like absolute garbage.
Yeah.
When she's got entertaining movies, like I'll watch them because they're mindless and I know exactly what I'm getting out of it. But when I don't know, we'll get into it more as we get rolling.
Especially the early 2000s, she goes on a Razzie roll there that we'll talk about.
Ooh, do we have to?
Hell yeah,
No,
that's good. That's the good
probably.
stuff.
That is the good stuff.
Her critic ranking percentage is 46.3, while her fan ranking is 58.4.
She's a fan favorite.
That's all I got for box office.
All right, early years of Angelina Jolie before we start getting into some roles. She's pretty well known for being born to a famous father, John Voight. Ever heard of him? James, you can correct me. I think he left her mom when she was 1. So she didn't have much of a relationship with him early on.
Dude, I got so lost in all the drama way later. I have no idea about the drama starting.
I know their relationship over the years has been very tumultuous. They've reconnected, rekindled, and got frustrated at each other.
They always try and rejoin on a movie set. It's fucking stupid.
That's a great transition because her first ever acting was when she was 7 on Looking to Get Out. She played Tosh, and because her dad was in the film. Small role in that one as a 7-year-old, but got her first taste of Hollywood.
John Voight one of the writers on that film?
I think I read that.
It's the original Fast and Furious. It's family.
But as James alluded to earlier, her early life is so fascinating. So she studied acting at the Lee Strasberg Institute in LA. They moved to LA at a certain point. And she was very much like a punk in high school. Everybody would make fun of her for her braces, her glasses. The person who became like the prettiest person on the planet was somebody that they would relentlessly make fun of in high school, which is interesting to see that shift over the years.
Like Charlize.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was the aluminum monster.
Like she studied acting at NYU for a moment. She almost dropped out to become a funeral director. And she's just into like dark shit.
One of the reasons why you could also, allude that she was into dark shit is she's been very outspoken about it, but she got heavy into drugs at a very young age and had serious addiction issues even at a teenage age of when it comes to like heroin. And that's when she tried to kill herself via hitman.
Yeah, she said she tried pretty much every drug possible by the age of 20. A lot of cutting, eating disorders. I mean, just a really, really, really rough upbringing. While she was trying to become a model in her early days before she became an actor, she made a lot of spots in music videos. So between 90 and 97, she was in 7 different music videos. The variety of bands here is interesting, from Meatloaf to Lemonheads to Lenny Kravitz, the Rolling Stones to Korn. So just covering the gamut, pop culture entertainment.
She also was one of 2 finalists for a show by the name of Saved by the Bell for the role of Kelly Kapowski.
Nice.
Of course, she did not receive that role, but who knows how the world would have changed if Tiffany Thiessen never got it.
Back in my day, she was Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Yeah.
That's right.
Feature film role, we're going to call it. It's meaty enough that we're going to talk about it, and that's Cyborg 2 from 1993. a low-budget B movie, and Lauren, as our guest Munson, pulled the short straw on this one and had to watch Cyborg 2, and is going to tell us all about it.
I felt a little like I was being hazed.
You're welcome.
When you all invited me back and you said that the wheel had decided on Angelina Jolie, I had no idea that I would get to watch such a special movie. So I just want to take a moment and thank you all for that.
Yes, you're welcome. I mean, we loved you so much last time. We figured this is the best way to welcome you on back. Yes, of course.
Didn't you watch a really bizarre, shitty movie on the Elliot Page episode too?
Yes. Also, in a lot of ways, Cyborg 2 is like a quintessential 90s action movie, 90s sci-fi movie, whatever direction you want to take on that. She was only 18 when the movie came out, so it's kind of interesting to watching her in that movie, even just hearing the youth in her voice, and then knowing the career that she goes on to have was really something. It's really not a surprise that this is a movie that is never talked about in her career and that you don't really think about. Like, there are other Cyborg movies, people have heard of Cyborg, but it's not really associated with Angelina Jolie at all. You certainly get the precursor to her Lara Croft. Like, you see her action and like very physical action and like hand-to-hand combat. There's a lot of that in this. General synopsis of Cyborg 2, if you were not lucky enough to watch it. It takes place in the year 2074, and there's these two major companies that are making cyborgs that do literally anything you want them to do. They can, replicate humans, a lot of facets. Angelina Jolie plays Cash. She's actually a cyborg in the movie. She was designed by one of the two companies to kind of seduce her way into the rival company's headquarters. And then her programming was set that she would self-detonate. Super uplifting, certainly a family film. Things go awry. She starts to have feelings for this human that she knew at her company. His name is Colt. He goes by Colt 45. He reciprocates those feelings. And so he decides he's going to help her escape from Pinwheel, the company that she was designed by. She gets out. Pinwheel sends this cyborg tracker, and he's a really colorful character in his own right.
Charismatic.
Yeah, he goes out after Cash and Colts, and chaos and violence ensues. And if you've ever seen a 90s action movie, you can kind of imagine how that plays out.
Do any limbs get cut or ripped off? I just imagine like a cyborg ripping off someone's arm or
someone's face, I guess.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. I saw a quote of hers in a rare interview where she had talked about this movie. She described her role in that movie saying that she did a fantastic B movie. And I think that kind of sums it up. I'll be honest, I struggled to stay awake when I was watching this.
I bet.
But yeah, that is Cyborg 2. There's not really a Rotten Tomatoes score on it. So do what you want with that.
What's hilarious about its Rotten Tomato profile, if you go to Angelina Jolie's profile, Cyborg 2 is listed. But if you go to the cast list, it shows her name, but she doesn't have a photo. And then you go to the next role, which is Hackers, and her face is on the casting. So it's like her team stripped her face so people didn't even see that she's...
Yeah. I wonder if she paid somebody to erase that.
Lauren, did you come across the backstory about her getting emancipated for this movie?
Jesus.
No, but having seen the movie, this checks out that a reasonable parent may not be super enthused about their daughter playing this role as a child, as a minor. There's some nudity, so take that for what it's worth.
In an interview with the Hollywood Gothic in 2006, the shorter discovered Jolie's father was the famous actor John Voight. The emancipation process was set in motion so she could film the scene without Voight awkwardly standing by like Thora Birch's father in American Beauty. So she got emancipated from her parents in order to do this movie and a topless scene, according to this article. That blows my mind.
Yeah. If you just type in like John Voight, Angelina Jolie feud, you will find just the wildest shit. And I guess it started young, of course.
I love that their solution to this move, like this predicament they found themselves into, was to get her legally emancipated, or I mean, she chose to do that, but like instead of just casting an adult woman in the role,
Yeah.
Oh, that's just impossible to ask that.
right?
There are no women over the age of 18 that were possibly available for this role.
Right. And it's not like she was famous at this point. I mean, she was John Voight's daughter, but she wasn't Angelina Jolie. And so I just thought that's a little strange.
5 years until the next review. And in that time, what most people call her first big role, especially media role, was her role as Kate / Acid Burn in Hackers. She met Johnny Lee Miller on set, married him, divorced him by 99.
When they got married, there's a lot of articles about what she wore for the wedding. So it was black leather pants and a white blouse in which she spelled out, like she was wearing a uniform, his last name on the back in blood.
What a weirdo.
She seems really into blood.
Yeah, it's clearly a thing she's into, no question.
Yeah.
We don't kink shame.
That's true. We don't kink shame, even though she's a vampire. We don't kink shame.
Oh, it's a cult favorite.
Yeah, people love it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people still love that movie.
Craig, you said you have a story about her performance as Georgia Virginia Lasha Woods in True Women, 1997.
Yeah, ironically, I was having dinner with a former colleague of Kyle and mine tonight, and I said, I got to get back to my hotel in time to record a podcast. And I said, we're talking about Angelina Jolie. And he said, get out of here. Angelina Jolie filmed a TV miniseries in my hometown, and a bunch of my friends worked with her, and they kept telling me how amazing of an actress she was. Turns out it was Angelina Jolie. I thought that was so cool that Seguin, Texas, if you're not from Texas, you've never heard of Seguin, Texas. And Angelina Jolie has spent some time in Seguin, Texas.
Warren, have you heard of Seguin, Texas?
Absolutely.
That's right.
What are we looking at population-wise here?
About 10 times the number of guns to people.
Fair enough. All right.
The other thing I loved about this show was her character's name is Georgia Virginia Lasha Woods.
Georgia Virginia?
No, she has to have a four-name character name in this, but she did.
2 of them are states. Good question. No
2
one knows.
of them are states.
But she goes on the awards radar with her role as Cornelia in George Wallace, another miniseries, 97, where she was nominated for an Emmy and won a Golden Globe. So first awards love in her young career.
That's early.
It is.
Yeah.
5 years in? 4 years in. 4 years in.
She's off the rails already in a lot of situations, and she's winning awards. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's like Artist 101, where everyone around them knows their life is falling apart, but they're perfecting their craft, and they're like, let's just see how much more money we can milk out of you before you kick the bucket.
Well, we've been on a run recently with actors who have like that one big biopic in their career. And Jolie is no different than that. Her highest critic score in this case is 1988's Gia, where she got Emmy and Golden Globe noms and a SAG win. And Rigby has this one.
Yeah, I was surprised that this was her highest critic score. I think whenever I'd heard of Gia, I'd often confuse it for Geely. So I will say that this one's much better. Let me just say that right now. So Gia is a 1998 TV movie, as Kyle said. It's from HBO Films, starring Angelina Jolie, Faye Dunaway, Mercedes Ruehl, and it's about the life of Gina Carano, who was a famous supermodel in the 1980s. Oh, I should say Mila Kunis is also in this. She plays the 11-year-old Gina Carano, which is good. But I didn't know Gina Carano's story. Turns out she was this really famous supermodel who is known as like America's first supermodel, like the first supermodel that really sort of, was in every magazine, Vogue and all these fashion stuff, on every billboard in Times Square, just made it big. And, shot her name through the stratosphere, I think, obviously, as you'll learn, faster than she could handle. So Angelina plays Gina in this movie. And she moved to New York City after being discovered by a fashion agent, played by Faye Dunaway. And she immediately sort of takes the modeling industry by storm. She's very gorgeous. She's talented. She uses her charm to kind of get sort of different shoots and meet people. Just what you'd expect for someone who's, in that industry, who's gorgeous, who kind of looks good doing everything and has it all, basically. turns out her life kind of takes a turn when her agent passes away and she falls into a love affair with a makeup artist. That's when you see her really start her life sort of go downhill. She starts to take hardcore drugs, cocaine, heroin. It's a tough movie to watch because they really kind of go no holds barred with the drug use in this, and also just like the overall, depression and just mental health issues that she had. It's really intense. And I thought for 1998 it was really good the way that they did it. Jolie is really good in this. I thought Faye Dunaway was awesome in this. Faye Dunaway is again her agent in this. Mercedes Ruehl plays her mother. She's also fantastic. The cast is good. It was really intense. I really enjoyed it, and Jolie's performance was great. You watch it, and knowing that Jolie sort of suffered from drug use and suicidal attempts and mental health issues growing up, it sort of puts it into perspective why she was so good at this role, because this was a life that she identified with.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't difficult to do that, but like it was something that she was familiar with, and she probably had, felt a lot of those same feelings. And so I thought that was really interesting to learn about her backstory and all of this as well. There's a lot of heroin and cocaine in this movie for sure.
It wasn't a Dewey Cox movie?
No.
You don't want none of this shit.
A couple more years. We've got Pushing 10, the movie that we mentioned earlier, for a few different reasons. But I think the important thing here is she met Billy Bob Thornton on set and married him by 2000, divorced in 2003. Another marriage that lasted 3 years, and another one involved blood in weird ways publicly. What a fucking train wreck publicly of a relationship that was.
Yeah, I just remember pictures of them on the red carpet. It's just like these people are just meant to be together. They are just
really. So I was the other way, because I think, how old were we when this? I was maybe 12, and my brain couldn't comprehend how someone as life-alteringly attractive as Angelina Jolie was into someone like Billy Bob Thornton. And it really threw off my idea of what relationships are and what they could be based. I was like, but he's so ugly and she's so pretty. Like, why? I don't understand what is happening here.
I was more referring to their dark, sinister personalities matching.
Oh, and now as an adult, I'm aware that it's two crazy people who are being crazy together. I totally understand now.
99 brought us that first movie that ever made money that she was in, and that was The Bone Collector.
Congratulations.
Alongside Luis Guzman.
I'm shocked that this movie has bad reviews, because I was a huge fan.
This movie was scary when I remember I saw it as a kid, and it freaked the hell out of me.
A lot of her movies that I realize that I like and apparently everyone else hates, they have a very similar kind of tone to them, where it's like just enough 90s cheese that I was like, oh, it's fun, but is it a great drama? No. Is it a fun drama? Absolutely. Is it a fun, gory thriller? No question about it.
Yeah, and she's good in this. She plays the cop who's taken under Denzel Washington's wing.
Mm-hmm.
He trains her basically from his hospital bed.
Doing some Dan Hedaya cop roles.
The most unrealistic part of this is that, I think at this point she was voted the most beautiful person on earth, and she's a police officer. No, that'll never happen. But for the movie, I will disassociate that part.
Girl Interrupted. She played Lisa. Yeah, her character is pretty deranged. I mean, she's uneven. I mean, she's in a mental institution. Obviously, comes with the territory. But the film's main character is played by Winona Ryder. So this story is told through her perspective, because she's put in there. She doesn't deserve to be in there. And Lisa basically exposes every one of her insecurities in Jolie's character. I think the question comes down to, if you ask people, she won the Oscar for this, so people would assume this is her best role. I don't think that's the case, but I don't know who she was up against either that year for the Oscar. It's an interesting role.
It's also not probably much of a stretch for her at this moment. A decade earlier, she was probably going through this exact experience, and so that is one of the reasons she probably thrives in a role like this.
She was going up against Toni Collette from The Sixth Sense, Catherine Keener being John Malkovich, Samantha Morton, Sweet and Lowdown, and Chloe Sevigny from Boys Don't Cry.
Oh man,
that's kind of surprising she didn't take that one, especially after Hillary took Best Actress.
Yeah, Chloe Sevigny in Boys Don't Cry is awesome.
No, you gotta pronounce it like an American. There is no. It's Sauvignon Blanc. It's Chloe Sevigny.
Yeah, your name's Ralph. You're Ralph Fiennes. All right, that's how I'm saying your name. But all those actresses you just named in those roles were awesome. So
yeah,
she probably crushed it.
Toni Collette in The Sixth Sense is fantastic.
It is.
Good for Angelina.
Mm-hmm. We did a little bit of an audible on this one. The actual largest audience gap apparently doesn't want to be found or watched by anybody in the Midwest. So James went with the second best option, which is probably a better conversation anyways. And that is 2000's Gone in 60 Seconds. And we've hit the millennium. And Craig said he was excited to talk about Jolie, so we could finally talk about Gone in 60 Seconds. So he's here for this.
Hell yeah.
What was the other one? What was the other one going to be?
The other one was Beyond Borders, and there's a few issues I ran into. One, there's about 20 different movies or documentaries or TV shows called Beyond Borders. So when you type that in, they're like, do you mean one of these 20? And you have to find it. And so the actual movie with Clive Owen, remember him, Beyond Borders, you can only find on Roku or Vudu. And so you have to buy it on both. And on both, it's not available in my area, according to the internet. So for some reason, I can't get it.
Okay.
Yeah, that it's 72-14. But this one, Gone in 60 Seconds, something I loved, has a 52% split. So critics hated this movie. They gave it a 25. Audience gave it a 77. What I will say is, if you like Jerry Bruckheimer movies like Con Air or The Rock, you'll like this movie. You just have to kind of accept the Nicolas Cage slick film, kind of absurd. It's funny and light, but like it's not that serious of a movie. If you're cool with that, you'll enjoy this movie. So the plot is, in exchange for his little brother's life, a now reformed Nicolas Cage, who goes by an awesome name of Randall Memphis Reigns.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got to do the impossible. In less than 3 days, he's got to not steal one, but 50 exotic cars for a ruthless crime lord. To stand a chance of pulling this off, he's got to get a ragtag group of former colleagues together and get the old gang back together to steal these cars. And the cast is tremendous. So one of his former gang members is, fresh off her Oscar win, Angelina Jolie. This is the next movie. Nick Cage, of course, is the star. There's Will Patton, Robert Duvall, Giovanni Ribisi, Vinnie Jones. Cops are played by Delroy Lindo and Timothy Oliphant.
Yep.
And the bad guy is Chris, is it Eccleston? If you saw him, you'd recognize him. I didn't know his name, and I confused him with a lot of other British actors. But if you saw him, you would recognize him. The way I would describe this movie is like, it's stylish, it's energetic, it's funny. It's Nicolas Cage being his awkward and over the top and fun self. But like, if someone was like, "Hey, defend the quality of this movie," I wouldn't. I'd be like, if you're comparing apples to oranges, if you're trying to see what the drama is that unfolds here. You're watching guys steal cars. They're making funny one-liners. There's car chases. There's sex scenes. Angelina Jolie is playing like the sexy version of what she just won the Academy Award for. It's like, oh, this girl's a little crazy. She's clearly, she used to have a thing with Nicolas Cage. Oh, she steals cars, but she's also like a little sex pot. And they crush it. They do great in it. It is a fun movie. Put it on in the background. You won't hate it. Anytime you check back in, you're like, oh, cool. They're making funny one-liners and doing 90s car chases. This is great. I think the critics hated it because at this point we were moving past kind of the Jerry Bruckheimer prime. And now we're in the 2000s. One thing I did notice, though, is that they have to get these cars onto in 3 days is Evergreen cargo ship, which famously recently got stuck in the Suez Canal for 6 days.
Too many cars on it.
Yeah, and it cost $10 billion in damage a day when it was stuck for 6 days because it blocked all of world trade. So that was funny because I was like, oh, the company's been around for a long time. Oh, that's the fucking company that kind of shut the world down for a week. Hilarious. Would highly recommend, but go into it with the expectations of what you're about to watch.
James, the only thing I would disagree with you about is I will argue with anybody about this movie. I'll take anybody down if they try to argue that this is an awful movie. I love it. I love this movie.
It's a great movie. I remember going to see it in theaters. It was awesome.
This is on my list of, if it's on, I might as well call into work sick because I'm just going to stay home and watch this movie. I can't turn it off. I can't come in the background. You hear Lowrider going, and my boss is like, "Are you watching Gone in 60 Seconds again?" No.
That scene is still great. It's one of my favorite gifts to send to people where they're dancing to Lowrider and all like the young guys are like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And they're just like, shut up. We're getting in the zone." And then it's Nicolas Cage just going, "Okay, let's ride." I love that one.
What do you think's better, having sex or stealing cars?
Having sex while stealing cars. Yes. Unbelievable. It's just good 90s cheese. Yeah, it's great.
Genius in this movie was they were lifting classic cars. So even though this movie's over 20 years old, I've seen movies that are 10 years old that are more dated than this movie. But since they're stealing classic cars, and then the new cars they were stealing were so new, I don't feel like this movie is incredibly outdated.
I think this movie is more relevant than any movie about COVID.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna age a lot better. Seriously, like my kid gets older, he's gonna watch a movie about love in the time of COVID. Like fuck no, he's not gonna understand what that means. But stealing cars, I mean, boosting cars is cool no matter what.
Minor sub point here. Did anybody else know that this was a remake?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not know that until I looked up some like information on it. I had no idea.
That's crazy.
Were they stealing like Model Ts in that?
I was gonna say, that was like the year the sport car was invented.
I gotta steal Secretariat.
The next few years is this run that she starts of her Razzie period of her career. Also, if we thought she was big after her Oscar win, she skyrocketed to astronomical levels as Lara Croft Tomb Raider 2000.
No matter who plays this role, it was going to be a tough sell because this was such a wildly popular game. And everybody that played this game that were fanatics, they had in their head who Lara Croft was. And that's what they wanted to see. I think she did a good job. I was entertained by this movie.
I was going to say, she's not what I think is wrong with this movie. I think she is like in her sweet spot as an action star.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't make video game movies not suck, apparently, and especially one that sexualizes a female character like Tomb Raider has. I mean, one of the things in here is like they had to make like a conscious decision on like what size boobs she should have compared to like the video. Like that's how much progress has been made in video games where like a production company was like, is this realistic enough? Her boobs aren't big enough to be like Lara Croft's. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. But she's not what's wrong with this movie at all.
The fact that her wrists don't break while she's shooting Desert Eagles is what makes me upset.
Because she's like 100 pounds firing off a gun that like the biggest men can't hold on to.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, this is the only one of these that I saw, and I liked it. I saw it as a kid, and I haven't seen it since, but... It's
National Treasure-ish-esque, and that's what brings you back, is like, it's that entertaining story. No, James, this isn't me. Serious callback here, saying that the Goonies and National Treasure are similar in the fact that it's a treasure hunt. That's exactly...
We're going back on that.
That might be episode 2.
Treasure is involved.
It is similar in that regard that there is a story and there is an item that people are looking for. So yes, it is very similar in that regard.
So no matter what we think of the scores from the critics of the audience or whatever she thinks of it, this was an important part for her life because while she was on set in Cambodia, this is where like the humanitarian stuff that James talked about, this is where it was inspired. So, since then, she's done over 40 missions as a Goodwill ambassador, along with her 29 nonprofits. And that all started when she was there, and she adopted her first son, Matt, at 26. And she said that was kind of like the real pivot point for her life, gave her stability and caused her to kind of stop acting like a clown.
When I was 25 years old, this would not have been my focus.
Yeah, I think when you were 25 years old, you were probably playing Tomb Raider.
Yes.
I probably was too. Don't get me wrong.
I was not playing Tomb Raider at 26, but I was also not thinking about adopting or having a kid in any fashion.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially after visiting refugees in Cambodia, right?
She just has an interesting life, dude. Like, she's made this much success at this point, like, in spite of her successful family.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, we're going to sail right into lowest critic score. Case has this one. It's another Razzie nominated role, so the second one in a row, and it's Original Sin.
2001's Original Sin is a thriller starring Antonio Banderas and Angelina Jolie. This movie feels equal parts fever dream and the prequel to 90 Day Fiancé International. And here's my synopsis of this movie. Antonio Banderas is a rich and handsome bachelor, and for some reason can't find a woman to fall in love with in the entire country of Cuba, even though he's rich and handsome.
that was the favorite part that they just ignored as a plot point. It's like the most handsome dude ever. Yeah, I can't figure it out.
So then he's going to send away to America for a bride who is described by his friends as ugly, but that's who he wants to marry. However, when his future bride arrives in Cuba, she looks nothing like her photograph, because Angelina Jolie's character claims, quote, "I didn't want you to love me because I owned a pretty face." You know, most women, that's what they're concerned about, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Speaking on behalf of all women.
Yes.
That also lends me that this is probably our first instance of catfishing. So, despite being completely deceived by Jolie's character, or he basically says, "It's okay. I know I told you I was poor, but I'm actually filthy rich." So the two of them are starting this great relationship under false pretenses. It's clear from the onset that something is amiss about Jolie's appearance in Banderas' life. Over the course of the movie, her character continues to betray Banderas, and Banderas continues to overlook all of her betrayals because of his blind love he has for her. This isn't a very good movie. It's weird. It meanders a ton. The acting and the writing don't match up at all. You can tell that it's clearly written to be a dramatic scene, and both characters are just, the acting's just, it's just off. It's not bad acting, it just doesn't match with. If I were speculating on why or how this movie got made, I think it was just a money grab, because at this time in the early 2000s, the stock couldn't have been higher for either Banderas or Jolie. And this movie's really just kind of melting together a bunch of different roles they've played and then shoehorning it into this story about these two different characters, which explains the $42 million budget. My biggest question about this movie is, how did this receive a 61% positive review from fans? So I think the question that's always asked, where do I fall on this? Firmly on the side of the critic, which pains me to say after hearing Gone in 60 Seconds. I'd give it probably closer to 20, 25, just because I am a fan of both her and Antonio Banderas. And so I'd give it higher than that, but I definitely am not going to be in the 61%.
Craig, you mentioning two people catfishing each other and then falling in love. That is actually a plot of one of my favorite relationships on 90 Day Fiancé, where that actually happened. It's two people both catfished each other and then ended up dating, and they've been together for like 10 years. They're the best.
So we got a fever dream, we have catfishing, and we have 90 Day Fiancé International. Who knew this would be such a relevant film?
Just as the movie starts and like they do like the quick explanation of why this was okay. It was just a husband who wanted a wife and didn't want to look for him. And it's Antonio Banderas and he's the richest man in the country. Are you fucking nuts? I was like, and then it was just this plain mail order bride. It's like, and it's Angelina Jolie. Like, what world are we operating in?
And also his American mail order bride. That was a hot take.
Very well known mail order country.
Well, at the time, that was one of America's greatest exports, is ugly brides.
Yeah, very plain brides, correct.
So while Original Sin was terrible from a critic's standpoint, she's still making a lot of money per movie right now. Even though she's getting nominated for Razzies for every one of them, such as Life or Something Like It in 2002, another Razzie nom, 3 in a row. the next Tomb Raider, which I assume she got a Razzie nom just because they're like, we hated you in the first one, so we're definitely going to hate you in the sequel.
Yeah.
So that's 4 in a row. And then Beyond Borders, the movie we couldn't find, another Razzie nom. And then Taking Lives alongside Ethan Hawke in 2004, another one. Just impressive consistency. Critics fucking hated her in the early 2000s, despised her.
Anybody else seen Taking Lives?
Yeah, and I was going to say I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot. I thought it was creative. I thought it was well written, and I thought her and Hawke did well against each other.
Well, y'all's taste sucks.
That's actually well documented. So we got 2 years of podcasts that prove that fact true.
And I admitted that publicly last episode anyways.
Yeah, you admitted it.
Everybody's aware of that.
Well, let's learn a little bit about Warren's taste in movies with his review of Largest Critic Gap, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow from 2004.
So this one got teed up to me, and I was offered either this pile of shit or Beowulf. And I did watch both. And this movie is better than Beowulf. So, Sky Captain, 70 critics, 46 audience. I think the audience is being super generous with a 46. The movie opens so just all over the place. You don't know what's going on. She's wearing a fucking eye patch. And I know it took until 2004, in this podcast. I know a lot of y'all have said stuff. I've never found her attractive. So that's just me.
What?
Never have I found her attractive in anything that she's done.
I don't understand.
It's interesting you said that, Warren. I told a buddy of mine today, he said, who are you guys covering? And I said, Angelina Jolie. And the young version of Angelina Jolie is not as attractive as I remembered her being. I think the older version of her, like in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I think she's way more attractive than those.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found two from Rotten Tomatoes I thought were pretty good. Lucas would be proud. The rest of you should be ashamed. And I was impressed by Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow, but I didn't like it much.
That's fair.
I think that's entertaining. The director came up with the movie in 94, and he spent 4 years working on a trailer and then went around and pitched it for years. And then they were like, we're going to give you money for it. And when he found out it was a flop, he was like, how could it be a flop? We made $50 million. And they were like, the movie cost $70 million to make. And he was like, we didn't spend $70 million on this movie. He was like, we asked for $3 million. What happened to the rest of the money? And they're like, all right, bud, you're never making a movie ever again. You never did.
So that's our last feature review. So now we're just going to punch through the rest of her career all the way to today, which is a lot. So between 2004 and present day, she's been very, very busy. We'll talk about some personal stuff along the way in terms of how her life transforms. But Shark Tale does an animated voice work in 2004. First, I think that's important just to note because she has some other bigger voice work coming. Another Razzie nom, number 7, if you're keeping score at home, for Alexander playing Olympius alongside, was that Colin Farrell in that movie?
Yeah, he played Colin. Mm-hmm. She played Colin Farrell's mom, but she is a year older than Colin Farrell. I just remember that movie because you see Colin Farrell's dick in it.
This movie's really bad, and it's an Oliver Stone movie too, so it was not good at all.
How's it look, Warren?
I work with fraternity men, so this checks out.
I mean, we want to keep, we want to keep it fair to both sexes here. We're talking about how Angelina Jolie looks. I want to know about Colin Farrell's dick as well.
Doesn't everyone?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you guys mentioned earlier. Keith David, our boy, is in there. Small role. But this is the start of the Brangelina that led to 6 kids, 2006 to 2012. He was still with Jennifer Aniston while they were filming.
Ooh, but, scandalous.
That was crumbling. Angelina Jolie says that because her parents were such a shit show, she would never break up or cheat. Be that person that would cheat, but they essentially have a lot of chemistry, and I think it shows on screen because those two are smoldering on screen.
Wasn't Angela Bassett in this as well?
Small, I think she has a small role, right?
Wasn't she the handler?
Yeah, you're right.
You don't see Keith David either. He's just a voice. He's like the handler of Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, he's blurry. This movie's entertaining though. Yeah, there's some fun fight scenes in it. Again, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it, but I knew exactly what I was getting into with it. I wish it went more over the top with like more of the violence and the fighting, and I wish they cussed more. But I get that they wanted to make money and keep it PG-13.
One of the few action movies that features a minivan.
Yeah, I don't think bulletproof vests work as well after they get shot 30 times.
The minivan scene's great. I love the minivan scene. I think this movie's a ton of fun to watch. I think it's got a bunch of great one-liners. One of my favorite scenes is where they finally have like confessed to one another and they're rekindling their relationship, and they have like the "how many people have you slept with since we've been married" conversation. And Brad Pitt's like,
that's a good one.
Brad Pitt's like, well, I don't want to like brag, but like I'm kind of a ladies' man. He's like, I'm in like, I don't know, high 50s, low 60s. He's like, what about you? And she's like, 418. Like, what? It's like, how is that even possible? It's like, it was multiple people at the same time. It's like, oh my God. Also, Vince Vaughn is great as like a side character. I think that is where he flourishes, just to like use his like improv jokes. When they find out that she's a spy, and he's like, oh my God, you've been fooled. He's like, well, tell her I slept with her friend. So that's 1 point on the board for us, huh?
The Good Shepherd, 2006, alongside Willie Hurt, played Clover's Margaret.
Rigby, I have a feeling you like this movie.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
Well, then you would like it.
I always get it confused with the Soderbergh movie that's called The Good German, but I've never seen this. This is about like the founding of the CIA, right? Isn't that what it's about?
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. First TV work, 2006, stars in Their Eyes. So it took her a long time to do any television work, unless you count miniseries. But I'm thinking like sitcoms and things like that. Her mother passed away in 2007. So that was kind of the first time she started talking with her dad again. So that's 76 to 2007. So long time.
Anybody see a picture of her mom?
No.
It's definitely where she got her looks from. Her mom is gorgeous.
Wow, I would have thought she got her looks from Bud Kilmer.
It's crazy with how profile both her and John Voight are that we don't know anything about her mom. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I think she died of cancer.
It was ovarian cancer.
Yeah, they do look really alike. Good call.
So I don't know why I think her mom's gorgeous, and I don't really care about her, and they do kind of look alike.
Because she's got a little John Voight look in her. That's what you're picking up.
Yeah, you just don't want anything to do.
I'm just afraid of getting bit.
Yeah, the vampire aspect, I totally understand.
So 2007 starts playing with that accent that Warren talked about in A Mighty Heart. She played Marianne. True story about Daniel Pearl.
Angelina Jolie's great in this. I saw this movie. This story has always kind of fascinated me. Made this video saying he decried all the things that the U.S. was doing in the Middle East, and then after that, the terrorists beheaded him anyway. So it's a fascinating story and a really good film, and she's great in this movie.
She had Golden Globe and SAG noms, I believe, for the role. I think the French accent was pretty solid in this.
From a financial standpoint, she started getting the 20 mil per movie in 2005. And once you get one of those checks, you can probably start choosing movies a little bit more specifically after that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do any more Lara Croft if you don't want to.
Right. You could do something you're more passionate about.
Like Beowulf, 2007.
I remember the commercials. It was always the same fucking point. They'd show all the action, and then it was the character just screaming, "I am Beowulf," and like slamming a door. This movie blows so hard with such a great cast because it's all voice, and it's like a shitty video game animation from 2005. Which, I mean, granted, it's 2007 when it comes out.
They make fun of this animation in the new Chip and Dale movie, and it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. I don't like it. The movie's terrible. The graphics are terrible. There's no emotion from characters, so they'll be screaming, and then their eyebrows just kind of move like up and down, whether they're happy or sad.
Warren, in the new Chip and Dale movie, there's one Beowulf character, and it's voiced by Seth Rogen. And he like is the guard of the door that they're trying to get through, and they're like, are you looking at us? And then like, I think he's dead. Like he's dead behind the eyes. He's like, no, I'm clearly looking directly at you, right in your eyes. And it's him looking straight ahead over them the whole time. Like, I don't think he's looking at us, man.
Jolie plays a character that's in it for like 2 minutes, and she's a naked CGI'd. I got to watch the end today, and it was on YouTube. And the Beowulf is hanging from a dragon's mouth. He's got a hook, an anchor. He throws an anchor, a ship anchor, into the dragon's mouth like a fish hook, and he's swinging from it because it's wrapped around his arm. And he's cut open the chest, and he's trying to stab the heart of the dragon, because we all know that's how dragons die. And he's swinging back and forth, and the point of the sword is like centimeters from the dragon's heart, and he cuts his arm off to try and like add an extra like inch to stab the dragon's heart, and he still can't do it. And somehow he loses his sword. So he loses his reach, but he still is able to reach in once he's like, oh, I'm going to kill this dragon. He reaches in again and grabs the heart. Like, fuck you, dude. You just, unless you're Inspector Gadget, you're not gonna do anything like that. The movie sucks. Never, ever, 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 ever watch it. It's one of the worst movies I've had to watch for this.
It's not a positive review.
No.
I'm glad we could bring it.
You should definitely follow it up with Cyborg 2.
Sky Captain was like a gem compared to that.
So she's making some more money. She's in all 3 Kung Fu Pandas. 2008, 2011, 2016. I know the first one made like $135, $150 million. More voice acting. Big franchises. So doing some things there.
Kung Fu Panda is good.
First 2 are great. I don't remember the third that well.
I concur with that. I didn't even know there was a third, but I know I enjoyed the first 2.
Yeah.
I know we talked about the third one because Cranston's in it, but I don't think there's much to be said about it. How about Wanted, 2008, alongside Chris Pratt?
That cast.
He's a badass in that.
Wait, Chris Pratt's in Wanted?
Hey,
he plays the shitty best friend.
Yeah, he gets his face beat in with a keyboard.
I like Wanted.
It's entertaining.
Love her in this too. And it's the special effects in this movie are awesome.
Yeah, the end fight scene's pretty badass. And her part in that was pretty cool too.
I love the special effects. The bullet bending never got uncool to me. I thought it was cool the whole time.
That was like the Matrix times 10.
Yeah. And I like how they just like abandoned reality and you just accept it. It's like, yeah, the only reason why people don't think it can happen is because no one's tried. I was like, that's cool by me. That's fine. That's all I need to know.
Comparing budget to box office performance, this is by far her best performance, which is notable because she's the primary character.
Let's talk about Changeling, 2008. I'd seen this movie before. I was looking forward to watching it again. I forgot that this movie is basically 2 hours of a woman being gaslit by law enforcement, and it's so frustrating to watch. Obviously there's a justice element to it by the end that you're like, all right, I'm glad this worked out the way it did, but man, her getting gaslit over and over again, I was like, this is brutal.
Yeah, I feel like if that movie had come out like in the last, I don't know, we'll say even 5 years, not that Changeling is like the most popular movie ever, but I think it might not have been received the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Think of how much we've progressed in the last 5 years, and this is based on a story that was in the 1920s. That's why it was so you had no rights, and you're just watching this woman who's like, I'm very certain this is not my son, and like, classic woman just making stuff up. Like, this isn't my child. What do you want me to say here? Dude, I thought it was checkmate when she was like, my son is not circumcised, and this baby is circumcised, so like, clearly it's not my child. And we're like, oh, nah, he probably just got circumcised when he was missing. It's like, what is happening right now?
That's clearly the first thing that people do when they go missing.
Classic thing.
I would say this is my favorite performance of hers in her career.
I agree.
He's incredible.
Same. She was nominated for Oscar, BAFTA, Golden Globe, and SAG.
It's such an intense movie. And yeah, you just feel so desperate for her throughout the whole thing. She does a really good job of portraying that desperation to the point where you feel it the whole movie.
Lauren, that's a really good point that you made. I'm thinking about that. I think it would have been made with such a different tone now.
Yeah.
we would have felt so much less manic feelings that we do.
How about Salt 2010 alongside?
Also based on a true story. Nah, I like Salt.
Accurate.
It's a throwback to the movie she was starring in the mid 90s, right? Where it's just enough action, just enough twists and turns, but it's also, not the heaviest of plots, even though the plot itself is taking itself very seriously. I enjoyed it.
Agreed.
I read that this was originally supposed to be for Tom Cruise, and when he backed out, they changed the gender to be a female.
Interesting.
Really? I think it's better with her in it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it works better with the female perspective on the twists and turns. Minus the shittiest makeup in that one scene. I don't know if you guys saw it. She dresses up as a man, and it's just Angelina Jolie with a thick jawline. That's a woman who's not. It's the woman we're looking for, pretty much, right there. Yeah, that's her.
At this time, is there a bigger female action star?
I would say maybe Cameron Diaz.
No.
Action then?
I mean, action at that point, Cameron Diaz has probably just done night and day.
Yeah, Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels, the other one, but
those are more like
those were
comedies.
that's more funny. That's a comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, I would put her as one of the biggest action stars, period. But I was trying to think if there's anybody else.
I'd say at this point, yes.
Yeah, probably the biggest of this time.
Yeah, I mean, even without the movies, she is the most, definitely the most, one of the most heavily covered, celebrities in the news, too, and just the tabloids and all that stuff.
Yeah, especially at that time, for sure.
She really is in the spotlight probably as much as anybody that we've covered on this podcast at one point in time, I would say.
The interesting part about By the Sea, I watched, it's available on Netflix, is at the time that it was written and filmed, her and Brangelina were in a really rocky part of the relationship. And if you watch the movie, it's about this voyeur couple who we're on vacation. He's a writer. She's a former dancer who was given up on that and now is just a housewife. They tried to have kids, couldn't have them, and so they're fucking miserable. And they end up starting to spy on their neighbors, played by Melanie Laurent, I don't know the guy's name. And it's them trying to rekindle the relationship. I couldn't help but watch it and be I feel like this is exactly what her and Brad Pitt are dealing with right now. And she said she thought that it would help them figure out the relationship, and I think it did the exact opposite.
Could technically be figuring it out, right? You figure it out, it's not going to work ever, right?
Yeah.
It's just the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
It's hey, our relationship's on the rocks. So let's have a kid. Our relationship's on the rocks. Let's make a movie about hating each other and see if that's therapy.
You say, let's have a kid. They have 6 kids. You're together for 3 years and you actually have twice as many children as it's physically possible to have in that time together.
Well, I mean, Mr. and Mrs. Smith fired things up for their relationship.
Yeah.
True.
I just think it's fascinating to watch her work as a director over the years, because then you also have First They Killed My Father, which she was nominated for a BAFTA for director, screenwriter. So she's turned into a pretty decent filmmaker. I think a lot of actors and other folks become directors and it doesn't work out for them. And luckily she's got a lot of fundage to do these things. But based on the critic and audience rank, I think she's done pretty well.
They haven't done well in the box office, but they've been well received.
But as we round things out, produces and acts in the one and only Ivan, a movie that we covered with Bryan Cranston and Sam Rockwell, Come Away with Gugu in 2021. And then the two more recent ones, Those Who Wish Me Dead, alongside Tyler Perry, a movie that's, I think, still on HBO Max. I thought it was pretty decent.
I love that movie, and I loved her in it.
Yeah, she plays the sympathetic hero.
And she's back to being an action star again.
Most recently, she made her appearance, her debut in the Marvel Universe.
This movie blows. She was so unnecessary in it. They spent way too much money to pay her to be in that role, and the movie was atrocious.
Really? I liked it, Warren.
A lot of
You never saw it, Rigby.
It's the only one he's seen.
Yeah. I'm actually starting at the end and working my way back.
I saw it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Rigby, we've reached the pinnacle of top performances. Hit us. What do we got?
All right, I got a list from Time Out Magazine from October 2021, so it's about as up to date as I could get. stops after we get from Eternals. So sorry, Warren, that's not going to be on there. Just for you, it's just movies, not TV. So
Girl Interrupted.
Numero uno. Her Oscar-winning role.
Changeling.
Changeling is number 2. Yep.
I think Mr. and Mrs. Smith is on that list.
Yeah, good job, Lauren. That's number 5.
Maleficent.
Number 6.
God, he's on fire.
Those Who Wish Me Dead because it was 2021.
No, that's not on here.
Fuck me, I'm done.
Salt?
Salt is number 4. Nice job.
Gone in 60 seconds.
Nope.
Ah, boo.
Wanted?
Wanted's not on here, surprisingly.
Wow.
G count?
Yeah, G is number 3.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
Tomb Raider?
Yeah, that's number 10.
Hacker's first importance to her career.
Yep, Hackers is 9. So we need
Nice.
8 and 7. That's it.
Bone Collector.
Nope.
Is Wanted one of them?
Nope.
Shark Tale. I'm kidding. I'm done.
Nope.
A Mighty Heart's got to be on.
No, it's not. I wish it were, but it's not.
Fucking A. That's a boner kill. I ain't done.
It makes me think they didn't see it because I thought she was great in that movie.
I'm gonna give one more guess. The Tourist.
Nope.
By the Sea?
Did she act in? Not act in one of them? Did she only direct it?
One is a voice role.
Oh, yeah, Kung Fu Panda.
Probably Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, definitely wasn't Shark Tale.
Number 7. All right, so we're just missing number 8, and this was early on in her career, I would say.
Pushing 10.
Her role in the Korn music video.
Kyle, did you say Pushing 10?
Yeah.
Pushing 10 it is. Number 8.
Oh.
Wow.
Led to one of the best relationships in Hollywood history.
You know, she's got a. There seems to be a theme with all of her marriages started with working with them on set.
And ending.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I tell you not to dip your pen in company ink.
I think that list should include A Mighty Heart. I would put Changeling 1, but I'm fine with Girl Interrupted being number 1 just because that was her Oscar-winning role.
I think it's very fair that the top 3 are Changeling, Gia, and Girl Interrupted.
Yeah.
I think it's probably her top 3.
She was awesome in Gia. She was really, really good.
All right, so Munson Meter, we rate every actor on a scale of 0 to 100 based on a variety of factors. They can include longevity, project choice, pop culture impact, acting range, their awards footprint, any other talents they might have, personal life, comedic chops, box office success, or anything else that matters to us as Munsons. So this time we will start with Case.
Normally, I kind of go in and I have an idea of what range they're going to be in, and usually they go down. And throughout tonight's discussion, I've continued to elevate her score. I think a couple of the key factors for me is the point I brought up earlier about her being not only one of the biggest female action stars in the 2000s, but I think she was one of the biggest action stars, period, in the 2000s. Is wildly impressive, especially in light of the beginning of her career and all the problems she had on the front end. I also really enjoy performers who parlay their earnings into passion projects, especially ones that have humanitarian efforts behind them. One of the things I always look at is when I tell other people who we're talking about, it means something to me when casual movie fans know who we're talking about. And her name recognition it's massive. And with that, I'm going to give her a much higher score than I set out to. I'm going to give her an 87.
I really like what Craig was saying at the very end about the name recognition, and I couldn't agree more that, especially during our age group, Angelina Jolie was the number one actress in Hollywood for basically that five-year stretch, and so name recognition was there for people our age. I don't think younger generations really know much about her because she is kind of out of the spotlight, and unfortunately she's been replaced with even bigger pieces of shit. Not to say that she's a piece of shit, because she's not, because I am supportive of her passion projects, and like she does, it seems like she does these things to support what she genuinely cares about, which is great. When it comes to the movies though, like, she's very meh to me in just about everything. I haven't seen the ones that everyone likes. I never saw Changeling, mainly because like I if I'm watching her in something, I want it to be something that's mindless. I want to watch the Gone in 60 Seconds. I want to watch the Tomb Raiders. I want to watch things like that. Things that I know that I don't have to pay attention to, and just I'm moving through it. So really, that all said, I'm gonna end up giving her a 75. And I'm fascinated by her like background and her history and everything like that. And she's done a fucking stellar job. But it's gonna be really weird to see like, what is she going to do if at all, like 10 years from now? Is she still going to be relevant? Is she going to maintain relevancy by doing a movie in 10 years from now and being in a fourth marriage? Like, I don't know. Something blood related. It'll be really interesting to see if she actually comes up with even better stuff down the line, because I think it is, I think it's the potential's there, but again, like, am I going to be the one to really see it? Probably not.
Lauren, are you saying she's available? If so, I didn't take that note. Now I know.
James said he had to jump off because of baby duties, but he told me his score. So he didn't give me an explanation, but he said he's given her a 79. Yeah, Ricky, go ahead.
When we first heard Angelina Jolie, when I first heard we were doing her, I pictured like all the people that we've done in previous episodes, and I realized that Angelina Jolie, like Kyle, when you describe this show as like doing famous actors going over their career, their filmography, also their personal life, and just like their legacy. Like, I think Angelina Jolie is like the perfect person for this show, because she like hits all that stuff perfectly. Beside like the social media presence, which whatever, but like she literally is huge. Her filmography is good. I should say great. Her personal life is like obviously as messy as it gets and as interesting as it gets. Her philanthropic stuff, just her outside passion projects, all that stuff is like, that's what made her one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. And I think the perfect person for this type of show. So I'm going to give her one of my highest scores. I'm going to give her a 91.
Wow.
Hey, Rigby, scrolling on Twitter, and I just found an article that says, Brad Pitt says Angelina Jolie sought to inflict harm with vineyard sale when she sold her stake in a French vineyard to a Russian oligarch.
So you're saying I should give her a higher score? Is that what you're saying?
You supporting Russia? Huh?
Until I see proof, I'm going 91.
Hey, this is BBC. I trust BBC.
Lauren, our guest Munson, you are up.
Yeah, so like what a lot of other people talked about, you just can't ignore her name recognition and her contributions to pop culture. None of her movies are like my favorite movie. And I think we've certainly referenced some truly terrible movies. But I think looking at, when I was thinking about like this score and what to give, I kind of made the realization that you could absolutely, she's one of those celebrities and one of those actors where you could use their name as a verb.
Yeah.
And whether you're referring to her things she does in relationships, or you are referring to her philanthropic humanitarian work, adopting a bunch of kids from around the world, I think you could totally Angelina Jolie something, and it could mean a variety of things. And I think when you reach that level, like you gotta give some credit there that like her impact certainly goes beyond her acting ability or her directing ability, but it's there. It's always there. I think that I would go 88.
Right, now round us out. All the big stuff that makes this process exciting. She hits those bars. To Warren's point, there's a lot of movies that she's in where I'm just like, whatever. I've seen her do some really impressive acting in some movies, and then I watched like Cyborg 2, and I'm like, man, how did she become this from that? Like, how do you rate someone that's got the Oscar win and has been nominated for 7 Razzies? Like, it's just all over the place. So, bona fide movie star, personal life, super fascinating. And I think she's become a pretty respected producer and filmmaker. So I'm going to give her an 81. I'm on the lower side. And with that, that gives Angelina Jolie an 83.5. Puts her in 9th place between Angela Bassett and Laura Linney.
Oh, that's a great spot for her. Me likey.
I wonder how the communication with people on like Twitter and stuff's going to be. I think she's got a bit of a following.
I feel like she has a following, but also like I feel like she's got a lot of haters too, I bet.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston.
So Warren, what does she got coming?
Maleficent 3 and Every Note Played. They're both in pre-production, I believe. We know what we're getting with Maleficent, but Every Note Played, a piano virtuoso is diagnosed with ALS. His estranged ex-wife takes up the cross of caring for him, and he is forced to balance reconciling his failed relationships with redefining his pursuit of greatness. And that is supposed to be, rumored Christoph Waltz.
Nice.
Directed by Tarantino. No, I'm kidding.
Next episode is going to land on June 30th. James's sister Laura is coming back for that. She was here for Chloe Grace Moretz previously. These are the 5 actors that we threw onto the wheel. We've got David Oyelowo, Sid Haig, Susan Sarandon, Russell Crowe, Thought Around the World, and Margot Robbie. What do we like? What do we dislike from that list?
Margot.
Just name-wise, I only know the bottom 3, and I would love to talk about Russell Crowe.
Sid Haig is he's dead now, but
rest in peace.
He was in some dark ass movies, so we definitely watched some disturbing stuff for sure.
A lot of Rob Zombie pictures.
I feel like I saw David Oyelowo on a late night show once, and all I remember about the interview, I don't even remember what movie he was talking about. All I remember about the movie was that he explained how to pronounce his name, which is quite fun to say. It would be fun to say his name over and over again in an episode.
It would be. I think we'd all probably mess it up throughout the episode for sure.
Selma. We'd watch Selma if he was on there. United Kingdom.
The Most Violent Year. That's a good movie.
We can watch Susan Sarandon in Team America.
Fuck yeah.
She's in that. Bull Durham. She's in a lot of shit, man.
Yeah, that's a pretty good list. There's really not somebody on there that I'm hoping we try to avoid. I think he'd be our second person that we've done that's deceased, right? I think Philip Seymour Hoffman was our only one.
And now he got hurt.
I mean, he is
not William Hurt's dead, yeah. But we did him when he was alive, obviously. So.
All right, Lauren, what would you pick if you had to choose?
Man, I think I'd probably go Susan Sarandon, but I think Margot Robbie would be super fun too. I feel like she's done some interesting roles that would be fun to talk about, even if, again, just like Angelina Jolie, even if not all of them are the most amazing movie ever.
Divisive movie. I don't think we've talked about Wolf of Wall Street on this podcast, and that would just be a fun one to talk about.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, who do we think Laura would pick? She was here for Chloe Grace Moretz. No, James isn't here.
I'm going Russell Crowe for her.
I'm going Margot Robbie.
I'm going one of the females.
James, before she came on for Chloe, he was like, she's always interested in the up and coming actresses. So that
would be Margot.
Makes me tip towards Margot.
So that's Sid Haig.
Very up and coming. But we'll see. She doesn't decide. Lauren doesn't decide. Warren doesn't decide. We don't decide. The wheel decides. See how it goes.
You know it doesn't.
Uh-huh.
Bullshit. Will doesn't decide. I decide. I'm the captain
now. Lauren, thank you for being here. We always appreciate having you. Our favorite Pittsburgh guest.
Thank you for jumping on.
Any wise words for the audience? Any plugs that you want to make?
Oh, man. Well, thank you guys for having me again. I get such great movie selections anytime I'm here, so it really is a joy. No, it's been a lot of fun. Every movie I've covered so far has not been one that I saw previously, so I think that's been an exciting challenge for me to see something new. And as far as plugs, I don't know. It's summer in Pittsburgh, which is like the nice time of year to visit. So you should all come to Pittsburgh. It's a good time.
Pittsburgh's great.
The sun does actually shine sometimes.
Yeah, you have one of the best baseball stadiums in the country too, right?
Amen.
We do. You have to specify that it's the baseball stadium and not the team, but
yeah,
it is absolutely beautiful and certainly a fun place to go watch a game.
Agreed.
But as we wrap up, you can find us on Twitter, Munson's at Movies. You can catch us on the IG, Munson's at the Movies. You can email us, munsonsatthemovies@gmail.com. Only one person has ever emailed us, and we had to withhold that one and before we sent it along because wasn't sure if we were breaking a restraining order on that one. But we'll talk about that after. Any final thoughts from Angelina Jolie?
Why don't you do the world a big fat fucking favor and fall back into your mother's womb?
Munson's out.
All right, let's go. Thank you for the education, gentlemen. We've just received a PhD in stupidity. Doctor, shall we?
Get out of here, Dewey.
What are y'all doing in here?
We're smoking reefer. And you don't want no part of this shit.
You're smoking reefers?